Hey everyone, just wanted to mention at the beginning here that this video does contain spoilers for the recently released novel Throng Treason. So if you're still making your way through the novel or plan to read it soon, please proceed with caution. With that said, thank you so much for your incredible support everyone, and I hope that you enjoyed today's video. As we've seen Thrawn's story expand within the current canon, it has become more and more clear that his service to Emperor Palpatine and the Empire evolved into a serious and dangerous problem for Thrawn regarding his divided loyalties. On one hand, Thrawn's true loyalty was to his fellow Chiss and to the survival of the Chiss ascendancy within the unknown regions. And yet, on the other hand, Thrawn determined that the best way to help the Chiss was to ally and embed himself within the Imperial hierarchy. Even more, he pledged the loyalty of his actions to the Empire, and gave a personal warrior vow to Palpatine that he would not cease to serve him even if it was more convenient to the Chiss for Thrawn to leave, a vow the Emperor promised to hold him to. It was perhaps a situation that was always going to end badly for Thrawn, positioning himself to earn the wrath of the Sith if his plan was ever revealed to be untenable. But as we learned in the 2017 Thrawn novel, Thrawn and the Chiss feared the growing and ruthless threats located within the unknown regions, which if left unchecked would bring chaos to the entire galaxy. Although Thrawn's mission was only to study the Empire and see if it might be a valuable ally against these threats, when offered a position to join the Empire by Palpatine, knowing Thrawn's expertise through information gained by Anakin Skywalker, Thrawn took the opportunity, knowing it would benefit the Chiss, despite his full knowledge of the Empire's own ruthlessness, corruption, and tyranny. Time was of the essence, and the Empire had to be positioned to help the Chiss. And yet, even in the 2017 Thrawn novel, the first of the canon novels revealing Thrawn's story, the Chiss Grand Admiral always had one foot outside of the Empire, a connection to the ascendancy that remained paramount in relation to Palpatine's goals. As Thrawn would explain to his nemesis Nightswan, an enemy who Thrawn nonetheless tried to recruit into the ascendancy having recognized his skill, which itself does show Thrawn's long-term commitment to the Chiss, Thrawn might serve the Empire, but he also served the causes of the Chiss ascendancy, and if anything should ever threaten these causes, Thrawn would certainly reconsider his path with the Empire. The main concern for Thrawn here was the super weapon, the Death Star, and it wasn't just a concern he discussed with Nightswan, but with Palpatine directly upon receiving his promotion to Grand Admiral. The Emperor immediately connected Thrawn's concerns regarding the Death Star to a fear for the Chiss, where Palpatine might turn the weapon against the ascendancy. It wasn't the only time Palpatine began to question Thrawn's true loyalty. Recognizing that Thrawn's efforts in helping to map the hyperspace routes of the unknown regions, Palpatine's primary purpose for bringing Thrawn into the Empire, intentionally kept the location of Chiss worlds and bases a secret. Palpatine assured Thrawn he had no designs to conquer the Chiss, but the epilogue revealed the true problem for Thrawn as he progressed through the Empire. The vice was slowly closing in on him, trapping him between his dual loyalties to the Chiss and to the Empire, and having obtained the rank of Grand Admiral, there would be no hiding from the eyes of the Empire, and he was expected to serve proportional to his rank. The 2018 novel Thron Alliances expanded on Thrawn's terrible position, where the more he tried to hang on to his alliance with the Empire, the more it showed his true loyalties to the Chiss ascendancy, this time directly in front of the Dark Lord Darth Vader. We're told that Palpatine chose to send Thrawn and Vader on a mission to test them, choosing to test the oath of loyalty Thrawn gave the Empire for the first time. Alliances was great in that it revealed a threat that Thrawn was concerned about in the previous novel, namely the Grisks, a technologically advanced civilization that was terrifyingly brutal in its abilities to prey upon the fears of a target civilization to infiltrate it, and turn it into a client state that served them unknowingly. As Thrawn and Vader uncovered the Grisk plans on the edges of the known galaxy, the Grand Admiral made a startling discovery. The Grisk threat was even worse than he realized, and it was likely targeting the Empire, threatening to turn Thrawn's choice of ally against the Chiss. Even more, a civil war threatened to tear the ascendancy apart, which could have been a sign the Grisks had already infiltrated Chiss society, their attack already underway. All of these concerns for Thrawn were not lost upon Vader. With the Sith Lord sure the Grisks were much more of an immediate threat to the Chiss than the Empire, Vader directly asked Thrawn if he intended to turn his back on the oath he gave the Emperor, and if he would take the Imperial forces under his command to assist the Chiss in their coming conflict. It's one of the only times we see the usual calmness and confidence of Thrawn begin to waver, cracking under the questioning of Vader, who is hitting at the true nature of Thrawn's dilemma at this point. Thrawn did everything to get Vader to reveal the consequences for such an action, framing it as something that would benefit both the Chiss and the Empire, playing into his past relationship with Anakin Skywalker, and eventually questioning Vader directly if he would just allow Thrawn to leave freely. When Vader hinted Thrawn already knew the consequences for such treason against the Empire, Thrawn reassured Vader he pledged himself to serve the Emperor, and while he did plan to eventually return to the Chiss, he wouldn't do so until the threats to the Empire were dealt with. It was an honest statement from Thrawn, but ultimately showed just how stuck he was. Between his oath to Palpatine, his duties to the Chiss Ascendancy and the Empire, and his desire to protect both against the Grisks, Thrawn was playing an exceptionally dangerous game. By the end of Thron Alliances, it's clear Thrawn saw the continuance of his initial plan to gain the Empire as a valuable ally for the Chiss as his best action to ultimately serve everyone. In reality, it might have been the only true option for Thrawn. The real depths of just how dangerous a game Thrawn was playing was revealed in this year's novel Throng Treason. Centrally placed in the timeline, in that it takes place weeks after the events of Thron Alliances and in the weeks leading up to the series finale of Star Wars Rebels, Treason further revealed how Thrawn's true loyalty stood with the Chiss over the Empire, and how his plan to join the Imperial Navy ultimately placed the Grand Admiral in a position that would backfire. This time, events would be out of Thrawn's control and forced upon him. With the Chiss Admiral Ar'alani and his former protege Eli Vanto studying the movements of the Grisks within Imperial space, Thrawn and the crew of his Star Destroyer, the Chimaera, were pulled into assisting the Chiss in uncovering the Grisk plot and ultimately destroying their small task force that infiltrated the holdings of the Empire. During his work with Ar'alani, we see Thrawn confirm to the Chiss Admiral that while the Emperor commanded the loyalty of his actions, the Chiss commanded the loyalty of his heart and mind. A reveal not too surprising based upon Thrawn's words and actions in the previous two novels. But Thrawn's work with Ar'alani and the Chiss fleet to thwart the Grisks put him in extreme danger with Palpatine and the Empire. Of course, during the events themselves, Thrawn couldn't report his findings back to the Empire. Otherwise, they would interfere in his attempts to learn exactly what the Grisk were up to, and prevent the Ascendancy from learning crucial information about their most dangerous enemy and their plans. But by not reporting the fact that he made contact with the Chiss, or that he was using Imperial resources to engage in combat with an unknown enemy, Thrawn created serious problems for himself, where he wasn't just breaking Imperial protocol, but opening himself up to charges of treason. Everyone around Thrawn knew how unpredictable his position was becoming, with the Chimaera's Commodore Karen Farrow admitting to Admiral Ar'alani that Thrawn's very life was precarious within the Empire, much to the dismay of Ar'alani, who wanted him back within the Ascendancy immediately. Thrawn, of course, was no fool either, and he explicitly knew that Chiss military action within the vicinity of Imperial forces were a threat to his career and even his life. Throng Treason is the story of Thrawn doing what he believes is right, attempting to serve everyone in protecting the galaxy from a dangerous threat he knew the true extent of. And yet, there's no escaping the fact that the Grand Admiral was exceedingly blurring the lines of his loyalties, as almost every action taken served a different set of goals, continuously using Imperial resources to help the Ascendancy and Chiss resources to help the Empire. From the view of those closest to him, his efforts were noble, but without question, they infuriated Palpatine. The Epilogue of Treason places Thrawn directly before Emperor Palpatine, with the Sith Lord questioning Thrawn's loyalty to the Empire and demanding an explanation from the Grand Admiral on why he shouldn't be considered a traitor. Thrawn attempted to defend his actions, doing a good job of showing the logic of his efforts, the truth of his not having any knowledge of the presence of the Chiss beforehand, and framing the Grisks as an immediate threat that demanded intervention. But regardless of Thrawn's explanation, the Emperor found the Grand Admiral's continued excuses wearing thin, telling Thrawn his loyalty was in question due to his cooperation with the Chiss. Just like when he was directly questioned by Vader, we see the rare signs of Thrawn beginning to break, with Palpatine noticing lines of tension in the Chiss's face, and a similar strain within his voice. This isn't surprising, given that Thrawn knew his life was at risk through his actions. Thrawn would continue to maintain his commitment and loyalty was to the Empire, but eventually, Palpatine concluded the Grand Admiral was a servant with divided loyalties, and thus, no servant at all. And yet, he was still immensely valuable, in ways that had not yet been explored by Palpatine. Thinking to himself, Palpatine considered Thrawn might be useful in bridging an alliance between the Empire and the Chiss Ascendancy. And of course, by alliance, Palpatine meant that he would become the Ascendancy's Emperor, holding command and authority over it. Palpatine would end the conversation by sending Thrawn to Lothal to deal with the rebels there, and the Jedi Ezra Bridger, leading into the events that were seen in the Rebels series finale. But there's no mistaking Palpatine's plans for Thrawn at this point, and which he would have executed had Thrawn not been removed from the Empire by Ezra. Despite Palpatine's earlier assurances that he had no designs for the Chiss, he would rescind that promise, and use Thrawn to gain authority over the Ascendancy, beginning his advance into the Unknown Regions. Here, Thrawn would have two options. Either refuse and be killed for treason, or accept and therefore commit treason against the Ascendancy. In many ways, this idea by Palpatine represented the collapse of Thrawn's long-term plan when joining the Empire. Based on what we know about Thrawn's goals and point of view from all three canon novels, there's no way Thrawn would commit treason against the Ascendancy. It was always his goal to maintain the survival of the Chiss, and even at the time of his last actions for the Empire on Lothal, his heart and mind were still with the Chiss Ascendancy. Thrawn's goals were always such that his efforts to assist the Empire eliminate threats to its authority ultimately gave the Chiss a strong ally to fight the threats within the Unknown Regions together. It was never to position the Empire to gain authority over the Chiss. In fact, Thrawn at numerous points explicitly declared that anything that threatened the Chiss would cause him to rethink his path with the Empire. Further, as he revealed to Vader, it was always his intention to help the Empire and then return to the Chiss, not as a usurper who would overthrow the Ascendancy on behalf of the Empire, but as someone who would continue to serve and uphold their independence. Given this likely direction for Palpatine, and the fact that Thrawn would refuse to turn against the Chiss, the most likely outcome for Thrawn after his tenure upon Lothal was death. Because of his warrior oath, and knowing that Vader would constantly be hunting him, I don't think he would have gone into exile, and he certainly wouldn't have gone back to the Ascendancy. It would have simply been an empty conclusion for an officer as skilled as Thrawn. In this way then, Ezra removing Thrawn from the Empire during the liberation of Lothal was probably the best case scenario for the Grand Admiral. It ensured he wouldn't be confronted by the decision from Palpatine, that he wasn't faced with the consequences of a charge of treason, and that he could ultimately go back to the Chiss Ascendancy to fight the Grisks or intervene in the Civil War without the Empire knowing. Either way, given the evolution of Thrawn's story within canon, Ezra's plot to take Thrawn into hyperspace saved the Grand Admiral's life, and represents a new beginning when it seemed that his efforts with the Empire had been exhausted and likely at an end.